This is the NintendoRepairShop.com, and today we're going to replace the upper LCD on the original Nintendo DS. So for this job you're going to need tools. You will need a small flathead screwdriver, a small Phillips head screwdriver, tweezers, and a hobby knife for X-Acto blade. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to turn the unit over, and you're going to open it and just leave it laid out like this. You're going to use your hobby knife to remove the 4 screw cover pads on the unit. And all you do is just put it under and pry them up and set them to the side. Got 2. Number 3. A nice tip to remember is if you set your blade at the edge and kind of slide it down as if you were cutting and then turn it in. You don't have to move it much, but it will allow the knife to get down underneath of the pad without damaging it. That way when you replace it, you don't have a cut up or a bad looking pad, and it can still look good. So we're going to remove the 4 screws here, 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 and here that hold the unit together up here at the top. There we go. Go ahead and turn it over. So you either want to use the flathead screwdriver or your fingernail, whichever you feel more comfortable with. And you're going to put it between the outer and the inner portion of the lower half and pry up on it. And once you hear it pop, you can go ahead and come around and do the same up here. And once you have those 2 halves separated like that, go ahead and pull it apart. And set your outer half to the side. And we have the inside exposed. You have 2 screws, one here on the Wi-Fi card and one here on the sound LCD card. So we're going to go ahead and remove those 2 screws and set them to the side. And anytime you're removing screws, you want to go ahead and keep them organized and together. You don't want to try to put the wrong screw into the wrong spot. So now that we have the screws removed, you notice you have your ribbon cable coming up from the lower half of the unit, plugging into right here. And then you have the upper LCD ribbon cable. There's 2 ribbons. So if you go ahead, pull the latch on the first one, you can go ahead and lay this out straight. And you just pull out the ribbon cable. And now we have the smaller ribbon cable. So you can use your hobby knife for the small flathead screwdriver. And there are 2, or there's 1 small clip here that you pull out. So if you go ahead and pull it out, you want to pull it out on both sides. This secures that smaller ribbon cable in place. There we go. And now you can just fold back the ribbon cable off of the unit. You want to be careful when peeling back. You do not want to pull too hard. There is a sticky substance here. If you pull too hard, you can damage the ribbon cable. So just pull gently and slowly until that falls back. And now we can go ahead and remove the upper LCD. This spacer is important and it does need to go back in. And sometimes you might need to pry that LCD out. It does have a small amount of adhesive holding the unit in. And there we go. You can set this to the side. And here we have our new upper LCD. It is available from the NintendoRepairShop.com. It does come with a film covering it to prevent finger prints and dust from settling on the screen, so you do not want to remove it until you're ready to go ahead and set the unit in. So we've got the old LCD out. Go ahead and peel off your protective plastic, and you want to make sure when you set it in that it's butting up to this end of the case. You want room for your spacer down at the bottom, and that'll make sure everything stays in line. So sometimes you might have a little sticky left here on the ribbon cable. We like to use a small piece of double-sided tape. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see this, but when you're looking at the back of your LCD, there are faint trace marks that show you where your ribbon cable should be going up through here. So you're going to put your double-sided tape just right here in the corner of where it should be. So we'll place our double-sided tape and go ahead and align the ribbon cable and put that in place. There we go. And now we can go ahead and reseat our ribbon cables from the new unit. So you want to fold back your larger of the two. You can use your fingers for the smaller unit. Go ahead and slide that into place. And then push your clip back in. Sometimes you might need to use your tweezers to get both sides at the same time. There we go. Now we can go ahead and set the larger ribbon cable in. For these ribbon cables, they are a little tough to get seated all the way in. So using tweezers is the best way to do it. A good pair of tweezers. So you go ahead and you set in the ribbon cable to the slot, and this piece of plastic here is a little harder and it gives you an edge to just go ahead and holding the cable with your tweezers. You don't want to squeeze too hard as you don't want to damage the cable, but you go ahead and firmly push it into place and then close your connector. Now all we have to do is lay this board over back into place. You have your little plastic nubs there to make sure it's lined up properly. And we'll put our screws back in. We'll do the same thing with the Wi-Fi antenna over here. And these two plastic silicone pieces serve as two functions. This side is both your Wi-Fi antenna, and then you also have your speaker wire that comes across that connects your speakers, and same on this side. So now that we have everything back in place and screwed down, we can go ahead and put the upper cover back on. So just set it over the unit and push everything just back down into place until it clicks. Sometimes you might need to there we go. If you have a newer unit, it is a little more difficult to go ahead and get it clamped down together. But so long as you've put everything in place properly, you don't need to worry about breaking anything, as everything is out of the way on the unit. So we're going to go ahead and put our 4 screws back here in the top of the unit. Alright, and then put the last screw in. We can go ahead and put on our small rubber pads. So your 2 thicker pads go at the top. There are also your bumpers for the upper half that keeps the unit from slamming too hard against itself when you close it. And just give them a firm little push. And then we put on the 2 smaller ones at the bottom of the unit. And we have just replaced the upper LCD on the Nintendo DS Lite. The only part that's left to check is to go ahead and turn the unit back on and make sure that our upper LCD is working properly. And that's it. We have a successful repair on an upper LCD of the original Nintendo DS.